The unveiling. The year was 2150, and humanity had spread its wings across the stars. The vast emptiness of space, once a symbol of human isolation, was now a playground for their ingenuity. At the forefront of this bold new era stood the Eclipse Vanguard, a ship unlike any before it. It was a marvel of human engineering, sleek, advanced, and equipped with technology that had pushed the boundaries of what was once thought possible. But there was something different about this mission, something that made the hairs on the back of Captain Emma Cole's neck stand on end. The Eclipse Vanguard drifted at the edge of the nebula belt, its sensors sweeping across the dense clouds of gas and dust that filled this region of space. For weeks, the crew had been tracking an anomaly, a strange energy signature that had appeared out of nowhere. It was unlike anything they had encountered before, a pulse that radiated with the intensity of a dying star. But the energy wasn't fading. It was stabilizing, contained, and the source of it was yet to be determined. Emma stood on the bridge, gazing out at the shifting expanse of stars as the ship's systems hummed with activity. Her hands gripped the edge of the console, eyes narrowing in concentration as her first officer, Lieutenant Diego Vargas, spoke from behind her. "Captain, the readings are fluctuating. Whatever it is, it's not natural. We're dealing with something far more advanced than any civilization we've encountered so far." Emma's gaze sharpened, and she turned to him. "What are you saying, Vargas? A new alien species?" Vargas hesitated, his face tense. "Not exactly. It's something else. There's technology here that doesn't match anything we have. It's beyond our understanding." A long silence filled the bridge. The crew of the Eclipse Vanguard had been trained for many things: exploration, first contact, and even conflict. But this was something entirely different. They were standing on the threshold of a discovery that could redefine humanity's place in the galaxy. "We need to find the source," Emma said, breaking the silence. "Set a course, full throttle, and make sure the fleet is ready to move in." As the ship began to adjust its course toward the anomaly, Emma couldn't shake the growing sense of unease. The human race had come far since their first ventures into space, terraforming planets, establishing colonies, and creating powerful ships capable of interstellar travel. Yet this was something that seemed beyond them, something not just unknown, but seemingly impossible. The journey to the unknown. The Eclipse Vanguard and its accompanying fleet of exploration vessels navigated through the nebula belt, cutting through the dense clouds of gas and dust that made communication difficult. Their instruments, once state-of-the-art, had begun to glitch in ways they had never seen before. Each time they tried to approach the source of the anomaly, their systems would flicker and warp as if something was interfering with their very presence in the region. Lieutenant Vargas leaned over his console, eyes scanning rapidly. "Captain, the anomaly's not just emitting energy. It's pulling us in. It's like it's calling to us." Emma's instincts flared. Something was off. The Eclipse Vanguard wasn't just being drawn toward the energy. It felt as though the anomaly was aware of them, of their every move. It was as if they had become the subject of an ancient cosmic game, and for the first time in years, the crew of the Eclipse Vanguard was out of their depth. "We're getting closer," Vargas continued, his voice tight with apprehension. "I've never seen anything like it." The ship surged forward, breaking through the final layers of the nebula belt, and before them, the anomaly came into full view. It wasn't just an energy signature. It was a structure. Gigantic, dark, and impossibly vast, the structure seemed to fold in on itself, a geometric pattern of unearthly proportions. It was as if the fabric of reality itself had been bent to create something truly alien. The sheer scale of it left the crew breathless. Emma's voice cut through the awe that gripped her crew. "Open all channels. Let's see who, or what, was waiting for us." The bridge fell silent as Area, the communications officer, worked quickly to transmit a standard greeting. But no response came. Instead, a pulse of energy surged from the structure, sending a shockwave that rattled the Eclipse Vanguard and forced the crew to brace themselves. "That wasn't a weapon," Vargas said, his tone unreadable. "It was a message, a sign of intelligence." A voice, deep and resonant, filled the bridge, seeming to come from all around them, as though it had always been there, waiting for them to listen. "Welcome, humans. We have been watching your progress. Now, the time has come for you to meet your future." The crew exchanged startled glances. The voice spoke in perfect galactic standard, but the message was clear. It wasn't a greeting. It was a challenge. The human response. For a long moment, Captain Emma Cole could only stare at the empty void beyond the ship's viewports. The structure before them was silent once more, and yet the weight of its presence hung in the air like a tangible force. She was a leader, trained for situations of all kinds, but nothing in her experience could prepare her for this moment. "Captain, do we respond?" Arya asked quietly, her fingers hovering over the comm system. Emma's eyes narrowed as she thought quickly. "No," she said firmly. "We need to understand what we're dealing with first. Prepare for a full scan of the structure. I want every piece of data we can get." The crew began to work in unison, each member focused on their task, but the tension in the air was palpable. The crew of the Eclipse Vanguard had faced dangers before, but this was something entirely different. They were no longer just explorers. They were about to step into a galactic arena where the stakes were beyond their comprehension. As the ship began to gather data, the structure before them pulsed once more, as if acknowledging their presence. Emma stood still, staring at the dark expanse of the alien artifact, feeling the weight of its purpose. Humanity had always been defined by its resilience. No matter the challenge, no matter the threat, humans always found a way to overcome. But as the voice echoed in her mind once more, Emma knew this was a challenge unlike any other, and she would face it head-on. The silent revelation. The silence aboard the Eclipse Vanguard was deafening. After the eerie message, the crew could only stare at the massive, geometrically perfect structure that floated before them, a monument to a power far beyond anything humanity had ever encountered. Captain Emma Cole stood frozen at the helm, the weight of the situation pressing heavily on her chest. The voice had spoken to them, but it hadn't given any indication of who or what it was. The only certainty they had was that they were no longer the masters of their fate. Something else, something ancient, had made its presence known. "Captain," Lieutenant Vargas spoke, breaking the silence. His voice was uncharacteristically uncertain, a rare moment of vulnerability from the usually confident officer. "The scans, they're unlike anything we've ever encountered. The structure's materials don't match any known element in our database. It's as if it's not even from this dimension." Emma turned toward him, her mind racing. She had trained for moments like these, but she hadn't prepared for this. An encounter with an entity or a civilization that had transcended the boundaries of known science. The implications were staggering. Who or what could have built something like this, and for what purpose? "We need answers," she said, her voice calm but firm. "Open a direct line to the structure. Try to communicate again. This time, I want to know who we're dealing with." Arya, the communications officer, nodded and adjusted her controls. The ship's advanced comm systems hummed as she attempted to establish a stable communication channel. Moments passed in tense silence before a soft pulse of energy rippled from the structure again. It wasn't just a signal. It was a heartbeat, a deliberate rhythm that seemed to synchronize with the Eclipse Vanguard itself. "Captain," Arya said, her eyes wide with astonishment. "It's responding. It's not just transmitting data. It's communicating with us on a molecular level. This is not a simple message. It's..." Before Arya could finish, the voice returned, but this time it was different. It was deeper, older, with an underlying resonance that sent a chill through Emma's spine. "Humanity has reached the edge of the unknown. You stand at the threshold of a new chapter. What you seek is not a gift, but a trial. You will find that which you are not yet prepared for." The voice seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere, as though the very fabric of space was speaking to them. Emma took a slow breath, steadying herself. She had expected answers, but this was no simple revelation. This was a challenge, a test. The alien force was not offering assistance. It was pushing them into the unknown, demanding they prove their worth. "What trial?" Emma asked, her voice steady despite the unease swirling in her gut. "What do you want from us?" There was a long pause, and then the voice responded with an answer that sent a shiver down her spine. "You will know when the time comes. The unseen power." The crew worked tirelessly, analyzing every data point, every fluctuation in the mysterious signals emanating from the structure. Despite their best efforts, the alien artifacts seemed to evade their understanding. It was as if the structure itself was alive, changing its form and response patterns, reacting to their probing in ways they couldn't predict. Even the most advanced systems aboard the Eclipse Vanguard couldn't crack the enigma they faced. As the days stretched into weeks, Emma found herself standing before the viewport, staring out at the alien structure in the distance. The vastness of the object, its silent and impenetrable nature, had a strange pull on her. She was no longer just a captain on a routine mission. She was a pioneer at the center of something monumental. But there was no comfort in that. There was only uncertainty. "Captain, we've made progress," Aria said one evening, her voice filled with a mix of excitement and apprehension. "We've uncovered a hidden frequency within the anomaly's emissions. It's not just data. It's like it's encoding information. Like a language." Emma interrupted, turning toward her. "Yes," Aria nodded. "But it's not any language we've ever encountered. It's something else. More complex. It's like it's trying to tell us something, but we don't have the keys to decode it yet." Emma's thoughts raced. The voice had warned them that they weren't prepared, but this new discovery gave her a glimmer of hope. Maybe this was their chance to understand the entity, to unlock the mystery of the alien artifact. But as they continued their work, something else began to happen. The energy readings from the structure intensified, and the Eclipse Vanguard started to feel the effects. Power surges, strange fluctuations in their systems, and eerie distortions in space itself were becoming more frequent. "Captain, we're running out of time," Vargas said urgently, standing at her side. "The energy signatures are increasing exponentially. If we don't act soon, we might lose control." Emma took a deep breath. She knew what she had to do, but it was a risk. "Prepare the fleet to make a direct approach," she said. "We need to get as close as possible. If we're going to unlock its secrets, we need to be in the heart of it." The descent. The Eclipse Vanguard moved slowly toward the alien structure, its systems humming with power as it approached the unknown. The fleet followed behind, a line of humanity's finest ships, each one a testament to the progress of the human race. Yet as they neared the structure, the feeling of being watched grew ever stronger. It was as if the very structure had come alive, its immense presence pressing down on them. "Captain, we've reached the outer perimeter," Vargas reported. "We're within range. The energy readings are overwhelming." Emma nodded, her gaze fixed on the massive object. "Activate the ship's protective shields. Let's make this count." The Eclipse Vanguard advanced, its shields glowing faintly as they approached the heart of the structure. As they passed through a shimmering energy barrier, the ship's systems flickered for a moment. And then, silence. The crew looked at each other, confused. Had they done it? Had they reached the center of this alien enigma? Then, without warning, the structure responded. The massive object shifted, its surface splitting open to reveal a hidden core. Inside, an immense, pulsating energy source glowed, a singular force, alive with power. Emma's breath caught in her throat. This was it. This was what they had been searching for. The unknown power that had been calling them, that had been guiding them to this point. The voice returned once more, but this time, it was different. It was no longer just a warning. It was an invitation. You have proven yourselves worthy of the knowledge you seek. But know this, your journey has only just begun. The trial is not over. The crew stood in stunned silence, knowing that what they had uncovered was just the beginning. The path ahead would be long and uncertain, but one thing was clear: humanity was about to change forever. The shifting horizon. The Eclipse Vanguard hovered in the heart of the alien structure, its crew standing at the precipice of a new era. The mysterious energy source that had once pulsed ominously before them now sat dormant, its glow faint yet ever present. The voice, which had once resonated with authority and cosmic power, had fallen silent. For a moment, the crew was left in uneasy stillness, unsure of what to do next. The structure itself seemed to pulse with a life of its own, shifting and twisting, as though waiting for them to make the first move. "Captain," Vargas said after a long silence, his voice heavy, "if we do this, if we ascend, we may never be the same again. Our species, our identity, everything we fought for could change. Are we ready for that?" Emma met his gaze, her mind swirling with the possibilities. The path forward was unclear, and the stakes were unimaginably high. But she had always believed in humanity's resilience, in their capacity to rise above the impossible. The choice was theirs to make, and it was time to decide. "Let's begin," she said, her voice unwavering. "It's time to face the trial." "We are ready," she replied, her voice steady and sure. "Show us." The revelation. With those words, the alien structure seemed to respond, its vast walls glowing brighter, its energy surging to unprecedented levels. A wave of information washed over the Eclipse Vanguard, flooding the ship's systems with incomprehensible data. It was as if the structure was sharing its entire history with them. Centuries of knowledge, advancements, and technologies that spanned across galaxies. Images of distant stars, of civilizations long gone, filled the crew's minds. Aria, her eyes wide with shock, turned to Emma. "Captain, it's too much. Our systems are being overwhelmed. We can't process all of this information at once." Emma's eyes widened as she watched the ship's data banks strain under the immense weight of the incoming knowledge. It was an impossible task to store or comprehend everything the alien artifact was revealing. But the crew was receiving glimpses, flickering visions of ancient, sentient civilizations, of battles fought, and won on a scale they could not imagine. But there was one constant in all of the images: the idea of ascension. Each race, each civilization, had reached a point where they transcended the need for physical form, merging with the universe itself. And then, a new vision unfolded before Emma's eyes, a future that hadn't yet happened. It was a vision of humanity, not as they were, but as they could be. A race of explorers, architects of the cosmos, capable of understanding and manipulating the very fabric of reality. But with this revelation came a warning. Humanity stands at a crossroads. The voice intoned once more. The path you choose will determine the future of your kind. You must decide. Will you ascend, or will you fall? This is the trial I spoke of, the true test of your race. The decision. The revelation left the crew speechless, their minds racing to process the vision of humanity's future. The weight of it was immense. To ascend, to become something greater than human, would mean abandoning the very things that made them who they were. It would be the ultimate sacrifice, the ultimate evolution. But to refuse could doom them to remain stagnant, forever confined to their limitations. As the crew discussed the possibilities, Emma stood apart, gazing out into the dark expanse of space. They had come so far, and yet the path ahead was more uncertain than ever. The Eclipse Vanguard was more than just a ship now. It was a symbol of humanity's greatest potential. But with that potential came a burden, a responsibility to choose wisely. The trial had begun. The edge of forever. The crew of the Eclipse Vanguard stood at the precipice of something monumental, a decision that would forever alter the course of humanity's future. The alien structure, Its enigmatic energy core, now pulsating steadily, seemed to sense the gravity of their deliberations. A heavy silence hung in the bridge, broken only by the hum of the ship's systems. Captain Emma Cole, staring out at the glimmering array of unknown symbols still dancing across the walls of the structure, felt as though she were standing at the edge of forever. "Captain," Aria's voice broke through the quiet tension. She had been monitoring the incoming data, and her tone was laced with concern. "The data stream is escalating. It's almost as if it's pressuring us to make a decision. The longer we wait, the more intense the feedback becomes." Emma turned slowly, her eyes meeting Aria's. The urgency in her officer's voice was palpable, but the decision wasn't an easy one. Ascend to a higher plane of existence, where humanity could transcend its physical limitations, or stay grounded, preserving their essence as they were. The vision of the future that had been shown to them, humanity's potential to shape galaxies, manipulate the very fabric of space-time, was dazzling. But it came at a cost, one that they might not fully understand. "Can we hold off the energy influx?" Emma asked, her voice measured. "For a while, Captain," Aria answered, "but not indefinitely. If we don't act soon, I'm afraid the ship's systems might collapse under the strain." Vargas stepped forward, his usually calm demeanor now tinged with uncertainty. "The visions, the ascension, Captain. It's tempting, but I'm not sure if we're ready for that. Not all of us are in favor of evolving." "You're not alone in questioning this," Vargas said, reading her thoughts. "We've always prided ourselves on our resilience, our humanity. But ascension, it feels like surrendering that. Like giving up on everything that makes us who we are." Emma turned back to face him. "And if we don't ascend, what do we risk? Stagnation? Falling behind other civilizations that have already evolved?" The question hung in the air. It was a terrifying thought. But Emma knew in her heart that this moment, this choice, was not just a reflection of what was best for humanity. It was the ultimate test of their willpower, their resolve. Would they embrace the unknown, knowing full well they might lose themselves in the process, or would they turn their back on the future and hold on to what they had? The first steps into the unknown. "Captain," Aria called again, urgency now lacing her voice. "We've found something in the structure's core. It's like a neural map of a civilization, a collective consciousness. This is more than just a structure. It's a repository of all their knowledge, their memories, their history. It's a living archive." Emma's eyes widened. "A living archive? You mean the structure is sentient?" Aria nodded, her face pale. "Yes. It's not just observing us. It's studying us, processing our responses. The energy fluctuations we've been detecting. They're feedback loops. It's reacting to our thoughts, our decisions." This was no longer just about the technology. It was about something far more profound. The structure was alive, an intelligence that had witnessed the rise and fall of countless civilizations. It had accumulated millennia of knowledge and power. And now, it was offering that knowledge to humanity. But the question remained, what price would they pay to unlock it? "We have no idea what we're dealing with here," Vargas said, his voice darkening. "For all we know, this ascension could strip us of everything that makes us human. We might lose our sense of self, our history, our individuality. The stakes are too high." Emma nodded, understanding the depth of his fear, but she also knew they couldn't let fear rule their decision. The galaxy was vast, and they were but a single, fragile species. The choice to ascend, to become more than human, might be the key to ensuring humanity's survival and prosperity in the cosmos. "Perhaps," she said slowly, "we don't have to decide right now. Let's gather more information. Let's see what this structure can truly offer us, and then we can make an informed choice." The price of knowledge. The decision was made. They would delve deeper into the structure, not yet committing to the ascension, but exploring what it had to offer. The crew focused all their efforts on deciphering the neural map Area had discovered. The knowledge contained within was vast, beyond comprehension. The civilization that had built the structure, once a dominant force across the galaxy, had reached a point where their physical bodies were no longer necessary. They had uploaded their consciousness into the very fabric of the universe, becoming part of the stars themselves. The crew spent days, then weeks, studying the data. They discovered records of other races, some long extinct, others still thriving in distant corners of the universe. They saw the rise of ancient empires, the birth of new galaxies, the shifting of stars. All of it was contained within the structure, like a cosmic library that had witnessed the ebb and flow of time itself. But as they dug deeper, they also began to uncover something darker. The process of ascension was not without consequences. For every civilization that had evolved, there had been others that had tried and failed. Those who couldn't adapt, who resisted the call to transcend, were erased, forgotten, lost to the void. Ascension was not a gift. It was a trial, and those who weren't deemed worthy were doomed to fade into obscurity. "We're not the first to face this decision," Area said quietly, as she sifted through the records. This structure, this archive, was created to ensure that only the most capable civilizations could ascend. Those that fail, they don't get a second chance. The weight of her words hit Emma like a physical blow. If humanity failed the trial, there would be no coming back. They would be wiped from existence, their memory erased from the fabric of the galaxy. "We can't fail," Emma said firmly, her voice full of resolve. "We've come this far. We can't let fear or doubt stop us now. We need to understand this technology. We need to prove we are worthy." The final decision. The choice loomed before them, a precipice too high to fully comprehend. Ascension, the transformation into something beyond human, was tantalizing. The knowledge they could gain would make them masters of the stars. But it came with risks. Risks they could not fully predict. For a moment, the Eclipse vanguard seemed to freeze in space, suspended in time. Then, as if in response to their effort, the walls of the structure began to glow brighter, sending out tendrils of light that wrapped around the ship like a living organism. The crew could feel it. This was no longer a simple encounter. It was a merging of minds, a blending of species, a moment of pure cosmic connection, a glimpse of ascension. The energy around the Eclipse vanguard flared, and in an instant, the crew was no longer bound by the physical constraints of their ship. It was as if the very fabric of reality had dissolved, and they found themselves floating in a vast, infinite void. They were surrounded by swirling galaxies, nebulae, and stars, more beautiful and majestic than anything they had ever witnessed. "Is this real?" Area asked, her voice trembling with awe. Vargas looked around, his eyes wide. "I don't know, but this isn't just an illusion. This is the heart of the trial. The structure is showing us the universe, the way it was meant to be seen." Emma looked around at her crew, each of them transfixed by the cosmic display unfolding before them. But amidst the beauty, there was something unsettling about it. It was as if they were being shown something beyond their comprehension, something that challenged the very nature of their existence. "Captain, do you see it?" Vargas asked, his voice soft. "The stars, the way they move, it's like the entire universe is a web, and everything is interconnected." Emma nodded slowly. "It's not just space, it's time. The structure, it's showing us the flow of time itself. We're seeing the universe as it was, as it is, and as it could be. This is the ascension. This is the knowledge it's offering." But even as she spoke, Emma felt a pull in the depths of her soul. The knowledge was intoxicating, but it came with a price. As the crew gazed at the wonders of the universe, they saw the unraveling of civilizations, the death of stars, the rise and fall of countless empires. They saw the fate of species that had failed the trial, erased from existence, their memories lost to the void. "We have to be careful," Emma whispered, her voice hoarse. "This isn't just a gift, it's a test. The structure is showing us the path forward, but it's also showing us what happens to those who fail." The final challenge. Suddenly, the cosmic vision faded, and the crew found themselves back on the bridge of the Eclipse Vanguard. The energy around them was still palpable, but the overwhelming sense of awe had subsided. The structure before them now stood silent, waiting. It was no longer an all-knowing entity. It had become something more. A gatekeeper, a judge, an impartial observer of their choices. "The structure, it's asking us to choose," Vargas said, his voice low. "It's offering us the knowledge to transcend, but it's warning us of the dangers. This is the final challenge." Emma's heart raced. The power to ascend, to become more than human, to harness the infinite knowledge of the cosmos, was within their grasp. But they had seen the consequences of failure. They knew that their very humanity could be lost in the process. Ascension wasn't a simple leap into enlightenment. It was a transformation, a risk, a gamble with the universe itself. "Are we ready?" Emma asked, turning to her crew. "Are we prepared to risk everything for the chance to become more than we are?" The crew stood in silence, each of them processing the enormity of the decision. Ascension meant shedding the very essence of their humanity. But to refuse was to remain stagnant in a universe that was ever-changing, a universe that would eventually leave them behind. Finally, Aria spoke, her voice resolute. "We've come this far. We can't turn back now." The trial had reached its climax, and the crew of the Eclipse Vanguard knew they were about to make a choice that would shape not only their future, but the future of all humanity. As they prepared to make their decision, the structure's core pulsed once more, and a voice, calm, ancient, and unwavering, spoke. "The trial is complete. Your path has been chosen. You will now begin your journey into the unknown." The crew of the Eclipse Vanguard took a collective breath, knowing that whatever lay ahead, it would be the beginning of a new era for humanity and for the galaxy. The awakening of the infinite. The moment the voice finished speaking, an intense wave of energy surged through the Eclipse Vanguard, unlike anything the crew had ever felt. It wasn't a destructive force, but a presence, encompassing, infinite, and strangely comforting. As the light enveloped the ship, the crew felt their senses heighten, as if they were no longer limited by the physical constraints of their bodies. It was as if they were becoming something more than human, something attuned to the vastness of the universe itself. Captain Emma Cole stood motionless at the center of the bridge, her hands pressed to the console. The air around her seemed to shimmer, distorting her surroundings. Her mind was swirling with the knowledge the structure had shared. The secrets of the cosmos, the cycles of life and death, and the mysteries of ascension itself. But amid the overwhelming flood of information, one thing became clear. This was not the end of the trial, but the beginning of a new journey. "Captain, I think it's happening." Aria's voice broke through the stillness, her tone filled with awe and apprehension. "The ship's systems, they are changing. I can feel it. We're becoming part of the structure. Our thoughts, our technology, it's all merging." Emma turned slowly to face her. Aria's face was lit with a strange glow, her eyes wide with both fear and wonder. "Are we losing ourselves?" Emma asked, her voice low. Aria hesitated, but her gaze never left the flickering data streams around them. "I don't think we're losing anything. I think we're expanding, Captain. Our consciousness, it's integrating. We're starting to understand the fabric of the universe itself." The words struck Emma like a revelation. Humanity, in all its imperfection, was now standing on the cusp of something extraordinary. The structure was offering them not just knowledge, but an awakening, a transcendence of the limits they had always known. It was as if the very atoms of their beings were being rewoven, connecting them to the vast, timeless expanse of space and time. "How long do we have before it's irreversible?" Emma asked, her voice steady but urgent. "I don't know," Aria replied. her voice strained. "This process, it's accelerating. Whatever is happening, it's happening fast." A sudden pulse of light from the structure illuminated the entire bridge. The stars outside the viewport seemed to shift, blurring into streaks of light as the ship's perception of time itself warped. Emma felt the boundaries between reality and the unknown collapse. The walls of the Eclipse Vanguard seemed to melt away, and she found herself standing in a vast, boundless void, a realm outside of space and time. Here, in this space, there were no walls, no floors, no limits. Is this ascension?" Vargas asked, his voice trembling as he looked around at the vastness that surrounded them. "Are we crossing over?" Before Emma could answer, a sudden voice rang out, a familiar one, yet not from any of her crew. "Yes, you are," the voice said, deep and resonant. It seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. It was the same voice they had heard before, but now it was no longer distant. It was within them. It was them. "You have made your choice," the voice continued. "And now you will begin your journey, not just as humans, but as something greater, something boundless. You have opened the door to the infinite, the unfolding path." Emma's heart raced as the reality around her began to shift again. The void they were in was no longer empty. It was alive, a swirling ocean of colors and patterns, like a vast cosmic sea. Waves of energy cascaded over them, connecting them to the stars, to the galaxies, to everything in existence. She could feel it now. She wasn't just a captain on a ship. She was part of something far greater. She could feel the heartbeat of the universe. This is beyond anything I've ever imagined," Vargas whispered, his voice filled with awe. We're inside the universe." "No, we are the universe." Arya nodded, her eyes glowing with a strange light. It's like we're becoming one with everything. The stars, the planets, the very fabric of time. It's all part of us now." Emma closed her eyes for a moment, letting the overwhelming surge of knowledge flood through her. She could see distant galaxies forming and collapsing in the blink of an eye. She could hear the silent hum of ancient stars burning their final breaths. She could sense the lives of countless civilizations, their rise and fall playing out in the backdrop of infinity. It was a beautiful chaos, an endless dance of creation and destruction. And they were part of it. But as the crew began to adapt to their new awareness, Emma knew this wasn't just a gift. This was a trial, a test of their ability to control what they had been given. The power to reshape the cosmos, to alter time itself. This was not something to be taken lightly. They could create, yes, but they could also destroy. And with this power came responsibility. "We can't let this consume us," Emma said quietly, her voice resolute. "This knowledge, this power, it's not ours to wield recklessly. We must stay true to who we are, even if we've become something greater." Vargas nodded, his eyes steady. "We have to remember that we're still human, no matter how far we've ascended. We can't lose ourselves in all of this." Emma turned toward the viewport, her gaze fixed on the swirling expanse of the universe before them. "Then let's use this power wisely," she said softly. "We're not here to conquer the stars, but to understand them. We'll bring humanity with us, and together we'll find our place in the infinite. The first step forward." With that, Emma reached out, her hand brushing the central console. The ship hummed in response, resonating with her decision. The Eclipse Vanguard, now fully integrated with the structure, began to shift. The energy surrounding them surged once more, but this time it was different. They were no longer trapped within the structure's confines. They were moving through it. The Eclipse Vanguard shot forward, faster than light, as the fabric of reality itself bent around them. "Where are we going?" Arya asked, her voice a mix of wonder and concern. Emma's gaze never wavered as she stared into the unknown. "To the stars. To the edge of the infinite. We are no longer limited by time or space. It's time to see what lies beyond." The crew felt the acceleration, not just in their bodies, but in their minds. They were traveling faster than light, crossing vast distances in an instant. But this wasn't just a journey through space. It was a journey through existence itself. They were no longer mere travelers. They were now part of the fabric of reality, shaping the course of the universe itself. As they moved through the swirling vortex, Emma felt a sense of peace wash over her. The trial was far from over, but this was the beginning of something extraordinary. Humanity had taken its first step into the infinite, and nothing would ever be the same again.